Last time I was talking a little bit about my intro into manifestation and alluding to the fact that there was a lot that happened that really unraveled my life and took me on this really, really wild journey. And the truth is that my life has been unraveling for a very, very long time. And now we're in creation mode. And it feels so good. And at the same time, I look at where I am and I'm thinking, how can I be at this point and not share? And what can I do to help elevate others, to help the women not in my life, who will be in my life, who will find me, who are searching, who are yearning, and wanting so much to have somebody tell their story. And what I mean by that is someone that can relate, someone that understands what it's like to be stuck, someone that understands what it's like to feel isolated, to feel alone, to feel like there is this depth within you that no one has been able to connect with, not even yourself. But all you know is that there's this desire to be unlocked. When I was growing up, that's what happened to me so much. I never felt fully understood or fully seen, and I could never really understand why. And if there's anything that I've learned in just this really, really beautiful unveiling, is that no one's really meant to fully get you, because you're learning your power. You're learning about you. And we face these different things in our lives because everything brings us to this point. When I learned, and I really mean learned, because this took a really long time for me to get, that we come here to live a life that we love. We come here to create the life that we love. That blew my mind. Something so simple, yet so complex at the same time. But why? Why is it complex? Because if you are anything like how I used to be, and what I'm still working through, we have grown up believing that it's about us satisfying another. It's about us people pleasing. It's about us being mindful of what we say and how it impacts somebody else. Meaning, it's always about being conscientious of somebody else's feelings and never about our own. See, that is one of the most difficult things to unpack, to come into full acceptance with, and then to just dismantle altogether, and then to become selfish. I grew up being taught that if I was selfish, then that meant that I cared for no one else. That if I dare think that I was important first, then that meant that I was cold and heartless, and that there was just no hope for me ever being a good person. And what did that lead to? Of course, a lot of people along the way said I was sweet and I was kind and I was selfless. I remember when people used to ask me, how would you describe yourself? Or how would your friends describe you? And one of the things that I would proudly say was, I'm somebody who's selfless. It wasn't just the household that I grew up in where you were taught that that was what you were supposed to be. It was the religious construct that I grew up around. It was the lineage. It was society, school. There's so many things around us that shape, not always in a good way, our thoughts and our beliefs. And if there was one thing that I really, really wish would have been different, but I understand the reason why it wasn't, is to know that it is perfectly okay to put yourself first. That it is perfectly okay to say that you need to take time for yourself. That it is okay to take time to allow our nervous system to reset. That it is okay to have goals and ambitions that focus on us, to have a life where we want to travel the world, or whatever we feel like we need to do to fill our vessel, to fill our cup first. It's okay. In fact, it's the right thing to do. And that can make some people uncomfortable. And if that is making you uncomfortable, or if you're creating an argument in your head that says, yeah, but this, what that means is that there is something in you that is trying to break through to say that it resonates with that. But there's a lot of noise that's still on top of it that needs to come out. So what I want to share with you today are some different ways that I have helped to reduce that noise. So one of the biggest ways that I started to do this was to spend time alone. And that was difficult for me. So incredibly difficult. I'm going to tell you some pretty big things that may seem like was a big risk, but it was worth doing because I had to recognize how important I am. So one of the first is that I ended up becoming estranged from people in my immediate family. And a lot of that was because they did not resonate with who I was becoming. How did I know that? Because some of these individuals were the ones who made me believe that I was never going to be enough, and that I always needed to have something to offer, to come to the table with if I wanted to be worthy of anything. And that was not the truth. That is not the truth. And if you found my channel, I'm gonna, take a wild guess that might really resonate with you. You might have a similar story, because I trust in the universe and I trust in God, and I know that I'm being called to do this because there are so many people out there, especially women, who resonate with that. I want to tell you, and I still want to get to all of those other things that I did in order to start to clear the noise, but I just want to pause here and say that this journey can be lonely. But the truth is that we have to know self in order to do the things that we really want to do. And self is you. But the thing is that we're not really alone. When we come into alignment with who we are, we understand how much is within us, our inner power, our intuition. And I am very spiritual, and so I absolutely will speak to these things. Our spirit guides, our ancestors, God. These are all big things that have been a part of my journey. And have provided me so much clarity to get to this point. I, for a very long time, have been so scared not to necessarily come forward, but to show up consistently. Why? Because that meant I was giving time to me, and I was doing something that I wanted to do. You see, I'm going to tell you right now that in my day job, if I was given this task, of course I would show up. Of course I would do these things. Why? Well, because I'm representing a company. Now, I am not, let me just say that, talking in hypotheticals. I would be representing a company because somebody else asked me to do it, because it was an expectation. I have found time and time again that I will show up if it's about somebody else. But when it's about me and what I want, it has been so difficult to show up. I recorded an episode last week, and I'm here again this week, and I'm going to commit more to doing this more frequently. And as much as that can scare me, because I've said this so many different times, I just know that I'm worthy. I just know that it's time, because while it is about me, it's also about what I'm meant to do. And I'm going to tell you the different things that have happened in my mind, and we're still going to talk about clearing the noise. Because I have been a perfectionist and have felt that I need to plan every single little detail in order to prevent failure. And I touched on this last time, but it's important. I felt like I need to know my brand. I need to know who my audience is. I need to know this. I need to know that. Like planning it down to a T. And when you are in divine surrender, which is a huge part of manifestation, a huge part of letting go, you trust. You take the leap of faith and you trust. If you know tarot, you know the Fool card. And I particularly think of the Light Seer's tarot deck, where she's kind of hanging off of the edge of a cliff. It's trusting. And that can be so difficult. When I grew up in the home of a narcissist, it was always about planning 10 steps ahead so that it was safe, so that I was safe, so that there was some type of peace or harmony or some kind of reassurance. And to undo all of that programming, I'm 35 right now. Actually, I'm 36 next week. And 2 weeks. I can't begin to tell you how much I need to share. And that can make me emotional, because I've sat on this for so long. Before I got to this point of talking to you right now, I watched podcast after podcast after podcast, read books, listened to audiobooks, multitasked, tried to do so much to amp up and get ready for this, because I didn't want to let you down. Do you see where it still comes up? Just because somebody shows up right here, right now, in front of this camera, does not mean we have it all figured out. It means that we have come a long way. And it's important to share, to help others who want to get to this point and more. If we showed up perfect, how would anybody relate? That's something that I have to tell myself all the time. I'm here because I'm authentic. I'm here because I'm raw and real. And those are the only kind of people that have ever resonated with me. I can't do it. I can't do it unless I'm like listening to someone that I can just feel their heart and soul in everything that they're saying. So I needed to go on that tangent on purpose, because I feel my spirit moving through me as I talk to you. I feel my intuition just coming out, and I know that it's just so important for me to say those things. And I trust that it resonates. So let's move back to talking about the noise clearing. So I mentioned about the estrangement, and that was some of the shakiest time of my life. And it happened after a very tragic death, losing my dad. And that's going to be 10 years ago. I think that's coming up the end of this week. And I mean, I know the date. I was just trying to think in my mind what day it is today. So it is 10 years. And it has been a long, long journey. In losing my dad and knowing the things that he wanted so much in his life but wasn't able to achieve reminded me of how much life is so precious and that our time here is limited. And if we come here to create the life that we love, then why spend time on the woulda, coulda, shouldas? Why? It's easier said than done. And I know that because I've gone through it. I continue to go through it. And that's why I'm here, because I want to talk to you so much more about all of these different things. From leaving those relationships that were closely tied to me, it broke down different constructs around my religious upbringing. It broke down different constructs around what it means to be a part of a family, all of the different belief systems that were pushed into my mind. And I'm so grateful that I experienced them and was able to then detach, because we learn more about what it means to, yes, stand on our own 2 feet, but be in our own energy. And I had about maybe 3 years to really be on my own. And then I moved into a relationship, a very serious one. And then there was so much more for me to unpack. And all of these things kept surfacing again. This noise, these things that I felt, this does not resonate with my soul. There is so much more. There is so much more to understand. I was compromising on my belief systems, compromising on my value and my worth. And that led to me getting a divorce and having to learn how to go through a 50-50 custody. But in conjunction with that, as a mom, being okay with having time for myself. And that is difficult. I have a child who has special needs, and I'm learning so much more about him now. My twins are 5. And I speak to you from a mother's perspective, from a woman's perspective, from someone who has had a spiritual awakening, from someone who has gone through 2 immediate family members dying very tragic deaths, and so much more. So the 2 big ways that I cleared out noise were family estrangement and divorce. And another big one was having to learn as a mom to have time for myself. The time where my kiddos are not here, and how to work through that, and understanding what is in my control and what is out of my control, and being okay with what is out of my control. I'm not saying my life is perfect or that I have it all figured out or that, everything is I guess, perfect. What I'm saying is that I come from so many angles, and I'm glad you're here. And you being here is a huge step, and saying that there is something within you that wants to truly be heard, that wants to be understood, and that wants to be seen. And that you are feeling called to start to understand so much more about understanding and accessing yourself within, knowing what your intuition looks like, feels like, sounds like, and learning these different daily practices that will help you to become more in touch with yourself, learning more about just being present, being. For me, being present was one of the most difficult things because I had such hardcore programming related to surviving a narcissist. And that meant that I really had to understand to live in the present moment and not to let my thoughts take over my mind. One of the things that I love about some of the people that I have learned from is that they still have these different things that come up, but have just learned how to really work through or push through them. So I am also going to be sharing different things and ways and strategies I have implemented, real things I've implemented, whether I learned them from someone else or created them on my own, in order to push through all of that. And not just to get here to this point today talking to you, but in my day job. And it's been a really beautiful process to see where I was 5 years ago, 4 years ago, and where I am now, and how I work through things, and taking that zoomed out perspective. The zoomed out lens is everything. And I can't wait to talk to you more about my zoom out strategy because, oh my goodness, if that's one place that gets you to a state of gratitude, that's like you feel so full of love and positivity and light. That is one of the secrets in really accessing your power within. So my friends, if this is resonating with you, if you're feeling like you want to learn more, you want to understand these different types of tools, strategies, and just hearing these raw stories in ways that I have done them to get to this point, then you've come to the right place. So I would love for you to follow, subscribe, like, comment, let's talk. I can't wait to know you more, and thank you for being here and for believing in yourself enough to stay here today. Bye.